Tomb Chapel of Menna, number 69. The general or main architectural style of the nobleman's tomb in the New Kingdom was adopted by the Tomb of Menna, located in the Sheikh Abd el-Qurna cemetery in the upper enclosure. It has an entrance that opens into a transverse hall, which then leads to a passage that finishes in a niche that holds the statue. Menna was the scribe of the fields of the Lord of the Two Lands, Upper and Lower Egypt. It is believed that he lived during the reign of King Thutmose IV. The events in the tomb seem to indicate that Menna had an enemy who was hateful toward him. In order to prevent him from seeing what is presented to him and from enjoying it in the netherworld, this enemy was able to reach Menna's tomb after his death and mutilate his face and damage his eyes in most of the scenes that depict him on the tomb's walls. As a result, he is unable to observe agricultural work being done in the fields, follow the harvest of crops, or take pleasure in the sport of hunting fish and birds. It appears that the ancient Egyptians truly thought that the best way to use this technique in the netherworld was to destroy enemies and rob them of the necessary enjoyment they required. Compare this to the actions of King Thutmose's III supporters, who erased, distorted, and scraped Queen Hatshepsut's names and images. We enter the tomb chapel, which is famous despite its modest size. The fact that it has many vibrant scenes of excellent quality and that the scenes are still vibrant and vivid now could be the cause of this. On the wall of the entrance to the left, a few offerings from the wealth of Egypt that Menna wants in the netherworld are placed in front of him while he is sitting. Notice that his enemy has damaged his eyes so that he cannot see what is in front of him or benefit from it. Scenes are organized into 4 registers. In the upper register, we see Menna overseeing the surveying of his cultivated fields. The measuring rope that the employees use to gauge the area is worth noting. Not to mention, one of the workers is begging the foreman by kissing one of his feet as he stands behind the offerings. Finally, we see Menna at the end. He is observing his ships while standing beneath a canopy, and what's important to notice is that one of the workers is being punished in front of him. His boss is going to strike him with a stick as we see him lying on the ground. In the second register, we see a scene of his chariot with its lovely horse waiting for Menna, a scene of measuring out wheat and the scribes recording the amounts, and a scene of him standing beneath a canopy with a follower bringing him refreshments in 2 pots set in a net made of threads while he bows in respect. The next scene shows wheat being winnowed and trampled by a herd of cows in order to separate it from its ears. The third register depicts scenes of wheat ear harvesting, reaping, shaving, and transportation. Here, we see 2 females fighting and pulling each other's hair, as well as a man playing the reed pipe while sitting beneath a tree's shade and another who was so exhausted that he fell asleep for a nap. Regarding the fourth register, the scenes depict plowing and sowing. Notice the scene of the girl attempting to pull a thorn from her colleague's foot. The third and fourth records start with a scene, now crashed, showing Menna standing in front of 2 of his daughters, each holding the Hathoric sistrum and adorned in a beautiful crown. The scenes of the narrow wall on the left depict Menna behind him his wife Henna Ta'i worshipping the god Osiris, the lord of the dead, who is depicted sitting in a shrine, wearing the crown of Atef, and holding a flail in one hand and a crook in the other. Osiris's face is colored black, signifying the fertile land of Egypt, and he is dressed in a white robe. Additionally, some followers are seen carrying flower bouquets and offerings on the same wall. Regarding the scenes on the left side of the wall that face inward, the majority of them have crashed, revealing the remnants of Menna, his wife Henna Ta'i, and a few of his acquaintances. Heading to the other half of the transverse hall, we find on the same entrance wall on the right showing the traditional scene of Menna in front of the various offerings, followed by his wife Henna Ta'i and some of his sons and daughters, and then scenes of those carrying offerings and flowers. On the narrow wall on the right is a stela representing a double scene of the god Anubis in front of Osiris and one of the western goddesses on the left, and the god Re-Horakti and the goddess Hathor on the right. Next, we see a scene of some relatives, followed by Menna and his wife Henna Ta'i worshipping. On the inward-facing wall on the right is a scene of a banquet including Menna, his wife Henna Ta'i, and other guests in 2 rows are gathered. We now proceed to the long passage, where we see on the wall to the left of the interior scenes of carrying offerings, funerary furniture, and various boats, some carrying the coffin of the deceased, some carrying the grieving female relatives of the deceased, as well as the boat that carries the sarcophagus, which contains the deceased's coffin, to the god Anubis, the god of the necropolis. A scene depicting the weight of the heart comes next. The deceased is seen, accompanied by the god Jehudi or Thug. In front of the god Osiris, the weight of the heart is recorded. There is a scale with the deceased person's heart on one of its pans and a little statue of Maat, the goddess of truth, on the other. It is noted that in order to prevent the deceased from escaping the judgment in the netherworld, the enemy has broken both the scale's pointer and has damaged the eye of the person holding it. The sacred voyage to Abydos and a few of the rites performed in front of the mummies, such opening the mouth, can be seen if we turn to face the opposite wall on the right. The famous scene of hunting fish and birds in the papyrus swamps is then shown. You can also see the deceased daughter picking a lotus blossom by gracefully bending over the edge of the boat her father is in, the traditional crocodile catching a fish, and the mongoose attempting to steal bird nests. Then there are a few scenes where the deceased's family is shown presenting him and his wife, Henna Ta'ai, with various offerings. Then, we proceed to the narrow wall facing inward at the end of this long passage, where a particular niche holds a statue of the deceased and his wife, Henna Ta'ai. There, we observe scenes depicting offering carriers on both sides of it. Before departing this tomb, we should make sure to observe its ceiling, which stands out for its beautiful colors, and to pay attention to the patterns of clothes and toiletry designs that are present in each scene.